Hamano's goal. Yes, Hamano's goal separated the two sides. Micah Hamano, the 21-year-old midfielder who plays for Tottenham Hotspur women's team, was the lady who scored the decider as Japan, of course, once again have acclaimed the Asian crown as champions. Welcome to this side of the action, and yes, we will take you to the ground because of today's edition of the show. Yes, bringing you all these and lots more on today's edition. Victor Okani is my name, and yes, I'm not doing this alone. Joseph Obicheson is also right here on the show this afternoon. Football Live, and yes, the Saturday. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Yeah, fantastic day to be here once again.
You know,
and, so many games. I mean, we are going to be having a final this weekend, and plenty other competitions around the world. So let's get it started.
Okay, let's see how that goes, because of course the title battle takes the weekend off as both league leaders Arsenal play second place at Manchester City in the League Cup final tomorrow. Despite that, there's plenty of play for both ends of the table, with the battle to get into Champions League places, of course, getting fierce, and the fight just to stay in the Premier League is also right there somewhere. We'll talk about it and let you know, because this looks like a bit of a relegation 6-pointer right now, with the Tottenham Hotspur hosting Nottingham Forest today. Yes, that looks like a 6-pointer, because yes, they will be giving it their all, hoping that that game is actually tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But of course, Liverpool will take center stage anytime soon. Yes, when they will go away to Brighton at the Amex. Yes, we've got 4 Premier League games today, starting with the Brighton game against Liverpool. Yes, at 1:30, and all the fixtures, of course, nicely spread out. We have a Fulham, who, of course, will take on Burnley, and there is Everton Chelsea much later in the day. Of course, Leeds United will take on Brentford as well. Yes, some interesting fixtures all lined up for you. Now, Liverpool boss Arne Slot is expecting an intense game today, particularly after the Reds were in European action just a couple of days ago. We only have 60 hours of rest after putting in an almost physical performance. Brighton has always been a team who want to play and bring the ball out of the back. Yes, he says bring the ball out from the back, but they make it very intense. So yes, looking forward to this particular one. Now, Brighton have hit a bit of a form, but for now, of course, what is expected of Liverpool at the moment, they've got to, of course, find a way to maintain the momentum going into this particular game. Wasn't so great. I guess they had to rest a bit of, put the intensity behind the game against Tottenham Hotspur. It ended in a draw because they couldn't finish things off. Maybe, of course, they needed a game like that to serve as a reminder that they have a lot of work to do in order for them to, of course, take the game to Galatasaray. That they did, and everybody would say, okay, maybe, of course, they had to pack a bit of some of the punches and just keep it somewhere so that they keep something fresh for their guest over the midweek in the European competition. Yes, at Anfield in December, when Liverpool won 2-0 against Brighton, yes, Brighton should have got something out of that game. But this time, Brighton, of course, are at home to Liverpool, and there's also pressure on the Liverpool manager. We know this season also that, especially for this stage of the season, there's been not the same Liverpool trying to replicate the same form that we've seen in the league and match it with what they have done in Europe. Joseph, this game is also potential banana skin for Liverpool, especially judging from the fact that there is a European competition. There is a European qualifiers for Champions League next season, almost hanging in the balance if they're not picking these points now.
Yeah, and it's really important that they, somehow get their act right. They absolutely have to. I don't think there's, any negotiating what they need to do. They have to roll up their sleeves and, do the work, because at this point in time, you look at even what Brighton stand to gain. Yes, not particularly much, because, you're looking at the distance between Brighton and any of the European places. The minimum is, 5? Yes, 8 points against Chelsea. So it means if they, get to this game now, they'll be looking at, okay, maybe we could do one or two things. We just need a stretch of good games in the final games of the season and see where that could probably land us. But I think more importantly is how Brighton have played against many of these sides,
big teams.
Liverpool, like even Chelsea and Aston Villa, Manchester United. Yes, they lost to Aston Villa a while ago, but they seem to get something going for themselves, especially at home. And the fact that Liverpool have had it really difficult in winning games, even from a winning point, when they take the lead, it's always difficult for them to at least try to stamp their authority and maintain that the 3 points at the end of the game. It's something that would, Brighton would look at them and say, okay, yes, they've done it before. I think against Chelsea they had to come from 2 goals down. Brighton, and they are kind of team where you can't afford to get 1 minute of rest against them, because you are almost certain they will punish you. And I think for me, as much as the importance it is for Liverpool, I also think it is really important they try to play the game really well, not the occasion, and try as much as possible manage it if you need to get your 1 goal, 2nd goal, and I think you should try as much as possible not to concede. But the moments where you give a little bit of gap to carelessness, I think they can get punished. And I don't know, it could be the way it will be either won or lost for either of the team. But I think Liverpool are the side under much pressure here, because Champions League money is really important. Going by how they spent last season and not be able to make a return, it will probably have a bigger impact when they need to sign players to compete for the Premier League next season.
Okay, let's of course take a break at this one in time. It will be a quick one, and yes, we'll be back right here on the show as the action continues. Stay with us, Football Live. When we get back in here, we're just getting started.
Brila FM, a complete deal. Brila FM, a complete deal. Brila FM, a complete deal.
Is it okay to make fun of our tooth? Let's have a talk. Colgate makes your teeth so strong. Stop cover your mouth. Not to do younger with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. 0 cavities and fresh breath. If you use a Colgate paste. Not to do younger with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. Colgate, #1 oral care brand in the world.
Brila. A bigger sports experience just for you on several platforms. Sports Radio.
Brila FM.
Enjoy our services on www.brila.net.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Everywhere.
Subscribe to Brila Sports TV on YouTube.
Watch, like, and share our videos. Brila.
It's a total sports media experience. Anywhere. Everywhere.
He centred in with that gorgeous left foot of his. Have you heard anything quite like this?
Absolutely not.
From London to Lagos.
It was a long ball over the top.
Oh, it's gone by the form book.
Yeah, it's a superb performance from Arsenal, really. Unbelievable.
Boom.
Big goal in the relegation scrap.
Wow.
Nigerian Frank Onyeka returns to the substitutes bench for Brentford.
That's why we stand out from the crowd.
If you're a Tottenham fan, you'll be jumping up and down.
Yeah, it was an absolute screamer. Fair play to Mikel Antonio.
Pick that one out.
It's been a pleasure having you with us.
And when's it all going to end?
Football Live on Brila FM.
Football Live, our proof that Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM has gone beyond one league.
How many do you want? How many do
you want? Yes, welcome back. We are back, and you know for certain that it is Football Live. It is Saturday, the 21st of March 2026. And yes, of course, let's get right into it as we continue to serve you the action onto this edition of Football Live. Joseph Karo Mitoma makes a return to this side, and again, in Liverpool team where you may not exactly have the full complement of the squad available, is this a concern that they need to address and find a way around it before this game?
Well, they absolutely have to. I think at this point in time, they can't even pick and choose what to do, because it feels as if every point needs a little bit of touch up, even with the players themselves. Defensive wise, you want to check. I mean, Kero Mitoma coming in with what they've got. Yeah. Frimpong, is he fit enough? Well, he's fit. Even his application to games, except maybe they are, absolutely winning and you expect them to, roll over teams. Sometimes it could be suspect. And I think for me, it's, whether we like it or not, he might have to look for a way to, there's no way he could probably, go into the market now. I think there's a way they could probably play Frimpong and still get the most out of that defensive shape, because, that has actually been something that has not gone well for them. That's even the other side, because I think at the end of the day, it boils down to, keeping the concentration for 90 minutes. That's what they don't know how to do, especially in the past couple of months now. And when you play against Kairo Metuna, will continue to, plug at you. And the fact that it can occupy a little bit of space inside the 18-yard area when you least expect him is, something that could be, a source of worry for Liverpool fans. I think the past couple of games is particularly scored in this fixture. It's gotten them in the dying moments of this game, these fixtures, and it's always about, okay, maybe he's just coming in and somebody fails to keep an eye on him. And I think it's really important that they do all of this. But again, I think it's much more than just somebody coming in to strengthen Brighton and Hove Albion. I think it's a function of everybody pulling the weight at the same time. Sometimes, you have the big guys at the back, but the truth is, when one is not playing, for each other, when everybody is, fully concentrated on the ball and try to win possession to, do the, instead of just clearing and, try as much as possible to get something out of the game. I think that's where it could, probably, I'll say, Brighton could say, okay, this is where we could come in, because most of their comebacks this season have come from difficult moments like this. And when you're having a Liverpool who don't keep concentration for the entire 90 minutes, again, guys like Pascal Gross, guys like Maitoma, and even Welbeck. Yes, you might have a rubber problem. You have with him. He's an old man, but the truth is, all those small pockets of spaces, especially in the dying moments of the second half, and when they just need to do it, they just know how to. So I think all of these things come to play, and I think much more than even just the mentality. Somebody spoke about this last weekend, and I think at this point in time, it has to come with not just the mentality, the entire commitment and concentration for the entire game is what they need the most. Okay, concentration for the entire game, of course, as far as this one is concerned. And real quick, of course, we will go to the lineup of this fixture and try to serve it to you before the kickoff. Of course, the kickoff is still more than an hour away, yes, but we'll, of course, try to bring it to you and, of course, put you in the proper perspective, in all honesty, looking at how things could turn out. If we serve you the lineup, it could serve as a bit of a guide to what to expect as far as this one is concerned. And talking about the lineups of this particular one, yes, Liverpool are in action. Before we go to the lineup, by the way, Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson has withdrawn from the Brazilian national team squad because of an injury and won't miss Saturday's game against Brighton. A 33-year-old has not travelled with the Reds to face Brighton at the Amex, and Georgi Mamardashvili is expected to start in goal. Now, Liverpool have not revealed the exact nature of Alisson's injury, but boss Arne Slot did not mention any concerns over the Brazilian's fitness in the pre-match press conference. Hugo Souza has been called up by Brazil boss Carlo Ancelotti to replace Alisson for the friendlies against France and Croatia in the US on the 26th of March and the 1st of April, respectively. Alisson, of course, missed the Liverpool's Champions League last 16 first leg against Galatasaray on the 10th of March, and of course was described in what was described as a minor injury concern. The coach also said Salah is a concern and would miss this game as well. So it looks like problems piling up right there. Let's go to the lineup already and serve it to you. Let's get all of those concerns out of the way, because despite playing less than 3 days ago, Arne Slot makes just 2 changes from Liverpool's 4-0 win over Galatasaray, and both are enforced with
Georgie Mamardashvili and Cody Gakpo, yes, coming in for injured Alisson and Mohamed Salah. Dominic Szoboszlai is set to start down the right in Salah's absence. It is Mamardashvili in goal. Frimpong is in defense alongside Konate and Virgil van Dijk. Of course, Milos Kerkesh, of course, is also right there. The two in front of the back four are Gravenberch and McAllister. Of course, Szoboszlai, Viets and Gakpo. The three guys are playing up top, right behind forward. Yes, Hugo Ekitike, who leads the line for the side. On the bench, Woodman is there, Gomez is there, Chiesa, who makes a return to the Italian national team, is also there. Curtis Jones, Robertson, Nyoni, Ramsey, as well as, Morrison, not forgetting Ngumoha. On the other side, Fabian Hosler names an unchanged side from the first 11 that started the win in their last fixture. Yes, in their last win against the Sunderland last weekend on the road. Verbroken is the man in goal. Vijver, Van Heck, as well as Luis Duncan Kadioglu are the four guys in defense. Milner and Pascal Gross are the two in front of the back four. It is Gomez, Hinchelwood, as well as Minter. They play right behind Danny Welbeck, who leads the attack on the subs bench. You have Steele, Jorginho, Baleba, Kostulas, Boscali, as well as Mitoma, Ayari, De Kuyper, and Veltman. These are the guys for this Brighton side. By the way, James Milner, asking James Milner to choose one match from his career he would like to relive is not a straightforward question, but of course Milner, who's now 40, recently broke Gareth Barry's record of the most Premier League appearances and has now taken his tally to 656. He's going to start again today, and that will be 657 for the former Liverpool and Manchester City man. Talking about James Milner in a very, very long career that we've seen all of what he's been able to do for himself. But let's get back into this one. The lineups, Alisson not in this setup. Mohamed Salah not also there as well. A concern for Liverpool? Joseph?
Mamardashvili, I think is a worthy maybe replacement, because you've seen what he can do. He's basically played even in high pressure games before, and to be honest, not a bad player, or not a bad goalkeeper to be able to depend upon. So I think could be no problem from that angle. Also looking at Salah, somebody who's basically is not exactly been himself all season, and I think it is even more. But I say I'm looking for the right word here. I don't want to say pity, because this is the moment where you feel it's beginning to get into maybe a tad late, but it's beginning to get into the shape. In the last couple of games now, he's scored in back-to-back games. He's been having assists. He's also been basically been delivering all what he did last season. Yes, maybe a little bit low-key and coming at such a moment where they probably need him the most as well, albeit late, but I think this is the moment where they need him the most, because all the games coming in now, they need to win games to be able to qualify for the Champions League. And, having to miss now through injuries, something I feel, again, not to use the word pity, but I think it is just sad. It's a shame that it won't be around. But I look at Florian Wirtz. I personally have Szoboszlai in that part of town, because he's played there this season again. You won't be having the same bite, in fact the same effectiveness, no matter how poor Salah has been. I think Szoboszlai, not being a natural winger, would always have one or two things you can say, okay, yeah, maybe something will not exactly go right, but he can always try, because he's such an intelligent player, and you've seen how well he's adapted to different situations this season. And I think moving Wirtz down to a lane where it's not exactly uncharted, but he only plays as much there probably when it comes sometimes, or just trace there when he plays for Germany, even at Bayer Leverkusen. You understand that it comes basically from the middle to the left wing, and I think it's just by natural order what should happen. And then you have Ekitike as well, who can well get the ball from any angle. He's just always going to try to shoot. So for me, we would not be having the same effectiveness as when Salah is there, because bad as bad, Salah not having a good season, but everybody is playing at their position, and Szoboszlai has the freedom to roam around. So now he has to also look at. He's also played the defensive position this season, Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
He also needs to look at who is at the back. McAllister will be the guy to obviously fill in wherever it lifts up from the front. And then you have Frimpong, who is always an attacking-minded player as well. So for all of the industry has shown this is almost like you obviously need to get somebody to cover in at the back as well. So I think that is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I think the most of this attack, from my point of view, would depend on how Gravenberch aligns himself, as the box to box. I see that they want to go into all the attacking game. Many times it's considered through counter-attacking opportunities to the other team. Brighton a fantastic counter-attacking team, and I think they might want to use that opportunity. Minter always having an extra engine to himself. Welbeck not particularly the guy to do all of the rigorous work, but of course Isherwood, who is the muscle just behind him, will be looking to fill in and to take on men, dropping at the shoulder of probably Van Dijk or Konate, while Welbeck probably occupies any of them. So I think all of these tiny pieces, yes, it looks like what Brighton would do would be, okay, let's see what lays out. We are in a position where we don't need to overthink. We'll get the ball and try to draw them out. They'll try to be too careful not to allow so much of the attackers into their box, but then we can attack on the transition as well. So I think Liverpool might be short-handed here, but I think they have to be very careful, especially when they have, it looks like an overload on one part of the team over the other side.
Let's talk about a Brighton player who has gone off the radar a bit in what much rather would look like an underwhelming season for him. After his performances last season, or in the first 2 seasons he's been with the team, there were talks about big clubs going for his signature, snapping him and getting him out of that place. United were also involved in the transfer before, of course, the summer window closed. I'm talking about Carlos Baleba here, and he's lost his place in the starting 11 as far as this team is concerned. Concerns about his consistency, you want to say?
Yeah. I think it's pretty much evident. At some point, beginning of the season, it was a horror show for him. I think middle points before AFCON, he picked up quite a bit. Even coming back from AFCON, but I think he's declined. And I'm looking at, if you have to go all the way to bring him back, in Pascal Gross
and James Milner,
I think it's I don't know.
It's an indictment on having such a young player who's promising and he's lost his way somewhere along the line.
It's so bad. But this is the kind of game I would expect him to even play. Despite, I don't know what Gross is doing right, or even Milner, but I think you need. These guys are not fast. These guys will not give you so much engine. But for a manager to look at Baleba in this situation, having to contend against Gravenberch and whoever it could be, Szoboszlai or even on Van Dijk, because at the end of the day, you know what Baleba also adds to the attack, and want to prefer Milner over him. It's terrible. I don't know what it is, but I think this is the game where I feel like how it goes in the first half, it comes in, because I don't think they would go the entire game and not bring him at 1 point, because they will need the muscle.
I saw the game against Arsenal, and he was taking off at the end of the first half. I'm like, wow, they're going to lose a bit of steel in the middle of the park. And another player came on. I think it was James Milner who replaced him. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, but these things happen, don't they? I mean, it sort of puts, cast a certain look at the team right now in terms of how you look at them and say, okay, if these guys are quoting the amount of money they were quoting in the transfer market, a few years down the line or a season down the line, that conversation has changed completely.
It has, and to be honest, I think it's just down to him to, consider at these moments as well, especially when he got to Chelsea. I think he worked out to get himself back to the very top, and you can't look at 1, 2, 3 players in that part of the pitch and not count him as top 3 in the league. So I think it's just down to him to get something, what was going on for him gets into the gym, I don't know where he has to, or probably it's the mentality, or
I guess,
even the confidence.
Guess has to be mental.
Yeah, I see a guy who took so much risks from last season. He gets into those areas where he could.
In a season where you also expect him to consolidate and build on what we saw last season and become more rounded, he's just gone off the radar, and I think he needs to.
I think it's mental, more on the mental side.
It looks like the last time I saw him doing something really good was the playoffs against the DRC. I saw that game. I'm like, okay, this kid is an enforcer in this situation, and after that time, there's a version of him I've been struggling to see again, and it hasn't come. But let's get right into it. Of course, the action continues right here, and I haven't talked about the Liverpool. Let's bring you a bit of the highlight of yesterday's game, because Man United were left furious about astonishing and baffled, a refereeing decision, as 2 penalties were awarded and one was not theirs. Yes, one was not in their favour in the thrilling 2-2 draw at Bournemouth. Harry Maguire's special day following his England recall was spoiled by his sending off at the Vitality, but it was the performance of the officials that had United fuming. Maguire would return to the England squad for the first time since in almost 2 years for upcoming friendlies against Uruguay and Japan, and was sent off for pulling back Evan Nilsson inside the box as United led 2-1 with 10 minutes to go. Junior Krupi subsequently scored the penalty, but the decision not to award Manchester United an earlier spot kick left interim manager Marco Carrick furious, especially after his side had been awarded the penalty for what was deemed to be a similar challenge earlier in the game. The penalty the visitors were not given, came when Amad Diallo appeared to be pulled back inside the box by Adrian Truffet, with United leading 1-0, of course, after Bruno's penalty. Carrick, who described the decision made as baffling, said, "My first thought is he definitely got one of them wrong, because he's giving the penalty to for the same thing that has not been, that he's not giving one as 2-armed grabbed." Okay, he talked about the situation right there. Another bleep for United, even though, of course, at this point in time, you say a top 4 finish, a European Champions League places finish, looks very certain for them. Yeah,
and I think, they basically they didn't do as much as they should have. I think
in the game.
Yes, in the game. And the truth is sometimes, you get even the tiniest margins, and comes from refereeing decisions, penalties, and whatnot. I think personally, they could have been better in terms of the performance. The fact that, not just even about how they play or even the tactics or chances created. I think you look at the body language as well. I feel like there are games where you need to, just go ahead and finish the game before before the opponents realize it. Sometimes I see Man United, take the perhaps too patient approach, to force games to this. But I felt in that first half, try as much as possible, they were a bit leggy and not able to at least put the team to the sword. I think that's what Manchester United have been suffering, not because of referee performances. I think reducing it would be really unfair. I think we've seen this, for a while now. It's not just even down to what the manager tells you. I think sometimes as the players, just make better decisions, and you're winning games. So yes, again, I think this is kind of the kind of game where you feel like, okay, we also, even if we are not trying, we are not playing as much as we should be, getting something. Yes, the referee did his part, but I think for me, it was always going to be a red card for Maguire because it was the last man
rule.
Yeah. If he would say it was a penalty, it makes no sense to say it wouldn't be a red card. And it was a penalty as well. But I think reducing it to just these 2 moments would be a little bit unfair to, how hard, even the manager must have worked to put all of these things together. But, just down to those things. I think the finest margins again, Ahmad seems to have slowed down a bit. A risk taker, but he's not exactly doing so much of what he used to do. And I think also for Maguire would always do what he does. I think he's been pretty much solid. And I think something that has also not scouted really well for them is, they've been chopping and changing the
setup at the back.
Yes, different combination today. Have another one tomorrow, one from yesterday, and I think that has probably played a part. You need that core together, to play continually together for you to get. That stability. Maybe once they got it and they feel like, okay, we can test new things out, I think you'll probably say goodbye to that. But I think for me, it wasn't all just down to that. I think the boys could have better applied than the way they showed last night. First of all, the Vitality Stadium is a place where you don't find it all easy. But particularly for Manchester United,
for a side that knows how to stay in the game like Bournemouth.
Yes, and Manchester United have not exactly had a good luck as far as this fixture is concerned. It has been of more Bournemouth than even Manchester United. At least winning like 4 out of the last 5 times, gives you a story of what it is like. So I think for me, it's a question of the application from the boys, even rather than what the referee did and what he did not.
Okay, these guys served us a classic before Christmas. It was 4-4 at Old Trafford. Of course, right now we're of course having another one. 2-2 it ended last night. 6-6, of course, over 2 legs as far as this fixture is concerned in the 2025-26 season. Of course, Manchester United against Bournemouth. And talking about that game as well, that game started, I was on the evening shift last night, yesterday of course, and that game started. At the time Mbeumo was taken out of that game, I saw that game with Femi Lubi and I said to him, I don't think this is a good idea. In a game where you're trying to finish off because the guys are coming at you, take out Ahmad. Leave Mbeumo on the pitch, leave Cunha on the pitch, add a Šeško to them with Bruno playing right behind all of these 3 guys, where because of these guys and their goal scoring opportunities, which is higher, or they are being prolific, which is higher than that of an Ahmad, for instance, it gives you a better chance because these guys will make better judgment when they arrive at the box and then try to give you or put the game beyond the opponent. I felt if those guys were actually going to get back at United one way or the other, that the attack was going to be a bit blunt. And it turned out that for the time that Ahmad will also drop to cover for Dalot, for instance, he can't afford the same energy. When he goes forward, he was a bit tired, and you see all of that. And Bournemouth were introducing the sort of guys who were running that channel and then making it as expansive as possible, spreading those passes and making sure, they peg United back. I just felt, the decision to have taken out Mbeumo at a point where you probably just need a guy like him to lay that pass the way we used to see it back at at Brentford, where he gets a long ball and then he runs free and then there's somebody already waiting. Typically of what we saw in the game against Everton this season at the Will Dickinson Stadium, where a pass led to him running all the way and he dragged the defender out wide. Šeško was running into position. He just did a cut back onto the path of Šeško, who tapped it into the net, and Pickford was helpless. I was expecting something like that because Bournemouth were chasing the game and they had a lot of people committed to the United attack. You just needed your right weapons to go for them, but of course that didn't play out well, and they might have a review at it and look at the situation again to say, okay, this is not looking really good. But not to have Maguire available for 3 straight games now, that of course will be a concern, and hopefully by the time they return from the international break, the other man will be available. But it's going to take a while. Maybe of course you will have the Argentine Martinez and every other guy available in that back line, because Matthias de Ligt, it's been 4 months now, nearly 4 months now since the last time he played, and there are concerns about his fitness already. Let's get right into it. Of course, action coming in onto this edition of Football Live, and yes, let's bring you what our first talking point on the show is about right here on your Champions Dial Sports Radio Brilla FM. Yes, taking a look at the activities that have hit African football in the last couple of days. South Africa head coach Hugo Broos has launched a sharp critique of the Confederation of African Football, accusing the continental body of failing to apply its own regulations consistently following a controversial episode in the final tournament. Bruce made it clear that his frustration was not directed at Senegal or Morocco, but rather at CAF's handling of the situation. The Belgian tactician pointed to a decisive moment in the final when Senegal players walked off the pitch for 17 minutes, an incident he believes should have triggered immediate disciplinary action. And he said all of these things that they failed to do has culminated in the problems we're trying to solve right now, because, hey, these guys believe that, oh, we have a case, but how do you present that, and how's that going to happen, and every other thing that has happened in the course of it. Yes, Hugo Broos this afternoon on Football Live. Let's hear from the Belgian.
The only thing I can say is that CAF shows again that there is no consistency in their decisions. It's very painful for Senegal to lose that cup, but there is a rule, Article 83 or something. So there is a rule. If you leave the pitch, it's forfeit. Done, finished. So in that direction, I can follow. The only thing is why you don't do it earlier, why you wait 2 months. At the other side, there is also a rule when you select a player with 2 yellow cards that directly after the game you have to complain, and 24 hours later you have to send your complaint to FIFA. It didn't happen when we put Mokoena in the team. And 6 months later, they decide to deduct 3 points. Even the rule said what they had to do. And this is something that I don't understand. And I said it already before. You have to be consistent in what you decide. And not for this one doing that, and for the other one doing this, and not following the rules. So here again, yeah, it's very painful. But you could do it much earlier. And saying, look guys, you don't even to wait for a complaint of Morocco. No, here, look, that's a rule. Out. Morocco has the cup.
Joseph, Hugo Broos. Yes, Hugo Broos, part of it today, he says, look, if the right things were done, all of a sudden, this is pointing in the direction of the referee now who didn't apply the rules, knowing that, okay, maybe referees who usually look at the laws of the game are not exactly the regulations of what governs CAF's competition, which is expected that referees should know this, by the way. I'm not trying to make a case for him, but in Hugo Broos' summation, that should have been the case of the moment the players walked off the pitch, apply the rules, and not us having to wait for what would have been. But I try to put myself in a position where I would want to imagine if walking off the pitch had meant Morocco were declared winner, the sort of reaction it would have elicited across Africa, that they finally gave Morocco what they wanted, because of course the decision was first things first to provoke the Senegalese players to walk off, and then they did that, and then Morocco were handed the trophy. I mean, it would have been looked at in a different way, because it's not in every situation like this that we have precedents to bank on and say, okay, this has happened before, and because it happened before, we can depend on it. Although he is not exactly hitting out at any of these countries, as he also believes that Morocco has a case, he is looking at something that, in terms of how CAF has been able to handle this situation, the inconsistencies are there. It's one rule for this, it's another for that.
I 100% agree with
Hugo Broos.
Yes, I agree, because first of all, I think in everything you have to look at the rule book. What does the rule say? What does the rule book? What are the things written there? What can be obtainable? What has happened? What are those things that we need to apply? I think they've not exactly done themselves the world of good. Yes, I understand, because we had this competition. Me and OG, he was like, okay, you put yourself in the position of CAF at that point in time. You have, again, this has not happened before. You have stakeholders, you have investors who have basically put everything into this game, the broadcasters and whatnot. Agreements have to be, honored. And also to prevent what would be or seem like a shame, at least to salvage the situation, the deed has been done. Players have walked off, and I think it will be an anticlimactic end to what had been a fantastic tournament, by the way. And the truth is, at the moment where that happened, it had ruined everything for everyone. Maybe those who were, particularly just wanted the violence and all of those things. But the truth is, in the true sense of what a tournament should be and the conduct of players, it's basically ruined it. But I thought the fact that they decided to go ahead with it, which was logical to me. At that point in time, still throw it open, and I think it further reinforces belief that something must have been happening somewhere in behind for Morocco to win it, and one of those things you mentioned before that provoked them enough that the Senegalese to walk off. I would not say maybe that was what the Moroccans were thinking.
No, certainly not. But
yes.
I mean, I'm talking about how people would have interpreted it.
Yes, so we're talking about interpretations, and people started to say things like, they had to call them back, and then it means something actually happened. So I think what they should have done by just being brutally following the law and what the guideline to the tournament is all about, just call it off immediately. But I think there are so many things on the line as well. Do you want this end? It has happened, but just you scrap, fight for whatever.
For the spectacle that the AFCON is, or that we want to give it, the perception we want the world to have about the AFCON. If we had ended it that way, what would the optics have been, or what would it have looked like for the African Cup of Nations, where everyone was talking about how much of a competition it was that was coming of age, and it was gaining the attention that it deserves as far as world football is concerned.
I think for the optics, terrible.
Yeah.
It can't go worse. But looking at the integrity of the game, probably the right way to go. But what is the essence of integrity where you have a goal ruled out for no just cause just moments before then? I think it's a game of you have to pick your poison. Either ways you're dying. Do you want to do it slowly, or do you want to just do the thing and just go like that? I think that was what it's a very sticky situation to put themselves, CAF, or even the Senegalese to put CAF. But the truth is, I think I would have personally agreed, go on with the game. And then I think you still have, for appeal of whatever in the next 24 hours or so, you can now decide, because there is nowhere, according to the rule books, that they can't, you can't overturn what has happened on the pitch. The referee having the final say is a myth. It just happens on the pitch, because you can basically say, there was a rule that was not applied when you were playing, and this, especially takes out whatever we have on the laws, that founded the game. So you can basically overturn it. And I think if that could, at that point in time, nothing could have been done. Again, for the optics, I would have probably agreed that, it is the right way to go. And in the 24-hour window after all of those things, I would personally rule that Morocco has it. Because, again, we are reviewing what happened.
It means on that night you wouldn't have handed the trophy.
Yes.
Everybody goes home.
Probably for the optics, somebody has to do that. Somebody has to leave the trophy. Because he's just trying to get creative with the solution. You don't want a situation whereby nobody goes home winner on that final day, which would have been another scenario entirely. Still worse, not good enough. Or call off the game and give it to Morocco. Nobody also wants to see that. So I think, so that you would not even try to please one over the other. Next day, where all agreements must have been finalized, everybody goes home happy. Do your due diligence, do your judgment. Overnight, this is what happened. Get reports from everybody, the match commissioner, the referees, the officials, everybody. And I think the next day, bad as the bad, people will feel it. But it's better than what we are currently experiencing.
I honestly cannot find the words. But do you agree with Hugo Bruce? Let's hear from him again this afternoon on Football Live.
The only thing I can say is that CAF shows again that there is no consistency in their decisions. It's very painful for Senegal to lose that cap, but there is a rule, Article 83 or something. So there is a rule. If you leave the pitch, it's forfeit. Done. Finished. So in that direction, I can follow. The only thing is why you don't do it earlier, why you wait 2 months. At the other side, there is also a rule when you select a player with 2 yellow cards, that directly after the game you have to complain, and 24 hours later you have to send your complaint to FIFA. It didn't happen when we put Mokoena in the team. And 6 months later, they decide to deduct 3 points. Even the rule said what they had to do. And this is something that I don't understand. And I said it already before. You have to be consistent in what you decide. And not for this one doing that, and for the other one doing this, and not following the rules. So here again, yeah, it's very painful. But you could do it much earlier. And saying, look guys, you don't even to wait for the complaint of Morocco. No, here, look, that's a rule. Out. Morocco has the cup.
So waiting for Morocco to have even complained, like some have said, is a bad idea. That the rules should have been applied almost immediately, and get that sorted. Again, the pieces of this whole thing coming together one way or the other. But do you agree with the coach? Yes, that's the coach of Bafana, by the way, Hugo Bruce, who said the rules should have been applied from the very first day to save us from all of these things, because, of course, it's easier said now because, again, there is a clearer picture in hindsight. Now, if these rules were applied that very day, that Sunday, 18th of January, trust me, everybody would have said, they don't favor Morocco.
Yeah, that's true.
But like most people, it may not be everybody in that sense, but most people would have said, of course. I mean, we now have a case where even Senegal are saying there's no way this trophy is going to leave. In fact, a new statement released by the Senegalese Football Federation is that they will have 2 stars on their jersey. They are not taking one out. They are not taking one out.
They have a case. It's a strong one because
might we have a situation where CAF will handle 2 trophies to 2 countries?
That makes no sense. it makes no sense.
090-41,089, Let's hear from you. Do you agree with the coach of Bafana, Hugo Bruce, who of course has had something to say wading into this particular situation? Hello.
Victor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Joseph, good afternoon.
Welcome.
I'm calling.
Okay, welcome.
This how Morocco and Senegal is getting out of hand, and it's not a good one for African football. I listened to the Hugo Bruce. That should be South African manager,
yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't want to agree with him. I wouldn't want to disagree with him. But there are some things he said that I think, applying it to my submission over this matter before now. During that game, that final, the referee, it was in his discretion for him to call off the game when but he waited for them. They returned after 17 minutes. The penalty given to before Senegal went on and won the tournament. So after 2 months, now telling us the new champion of Africa, 2025 AFCON. So it's somehow, it's annoying. It's lack, I could remember when Jordan Klopp AFCON, all of us lambasted him. He has been vindicated, he can now say, okay, I said it before, and many people did not believe me. Look at what that was. So it's unfortunate, and there is no way that Morocco, they should declare them champions of what? The game we watched, everybody saw the game. Yes, what Senegal did was very, very, very wrong. We do not want to see such things in football. It was very, very, very annoying. But the game continued. And at the end of the day, we had a champion, a champion was a mess. And they celebrated the trophy. You, as the president, you handed the trophy to them. They went home, they celebrated with the nation, and at the end of the day, most of the players went back to their club. They were celebrated. So why now giving this decision after you must have seen that the decision wouldn't go down well with anybody. So my take on this is CAF is just a joke. Let me just say it this way. CAF is just a joke. They should stop this, so they should stop it and do the needful so that we shouldn't be watching our daily minutes outside. Look at what is happening to African football. And everybody is talking about Africa. Even the Nations Cup, the highest level of our own football here in Africa, is happening. So, what greater right do we have with other confederations like CONCACAF and Commonwealth? All those, we are not talking about Europe now, not talking about UEFA, because they will just laugh at us. So, my take on this is just they should let the sleeping dog lie. Forget about this thing. You can't be champion in a boardroom meeting. You must play football on the pitch and win before we'll call you a champion. So it's not unfortunate, my brother. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that one, getting us started on the show today. We'll take a quick message from Joseph. Yes, he's got something for us.
Gunners, it's not all over yet. Yes, it's not over until it is over, and they still Arsenal all the way. To celebrate this great season, Chivas Regal, the official whiskey partner of Arsenal FC, is giving away an official Arsenal jersey signed by Victor Gyökeres, Martin Zubimendi and Mikel Merino. Now here's the challenge. Build your ultimate five-a-side Arsenal FC team with any era of Arsenal players. The Invisibles, the Emirates era, the hybrid days, whatever. Just mix it up, be creative. Shows that you know Arsenal. Drop your lineup in the comment section of the pinned post of the official at Chivas Regal NG page on Instagram and X. The comment with the most likes and loves win the jersey. So hurry now. Let's see who is really a gunner for life. I rise, we rise. Remember to drink Chivas responsibly.
Okay, thank you so much for that one as the action continues right here on the show this afternoon. We're still taking thoughts on, the summation of the coach of Bafana, Hugo Bruce, who of course has had something to say about the competition. Yes, we're also counting down to the kickoff at the Amex. In another 29 minutes, that game should get started. We'll take you there and let you know how things are looking. But definitely, we're taking thoughts at this point in time. You could also leave your messages on WhatsApp, 090404089. And yes, we'll be taking them on the show. So keep it locked and bring in more of the messages. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. You can't hear us. Try again. Hello, good afternoon.
Good if you can.
Good afternoon. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Yeah, which are waiting on the line.
Welcome.
It is the issue of this car, right? Let's go to the product of my mouth to say, the other time was to take a glove that called it AFCON, a little tournament. And even because I can say the same thing. Everybody, the one Africa, we are shouting. All of us, they shout, they cry. We have already proven to them now that it's a small tournament. So after a tournament, somebody comes, imagine, they even after 2 months, when I go do one meeting, secret meeting, come and say, for instance, go to room, they'll not be doing and win again. Now I carry that to give somebody, give the host. Where in Europe, where in the world, they don't say, after a tournament, they go for both to decide who win them. Now, chess, they play, a draft. I don't understand. So this is a shame. We don't just expect ourselves. The camp president, all of them to resign. From the camp president, all of them to resign. From their places, they should resign. They have totally messed African football up. It's a total mess. A total mess. African football is dead. If Senegal should return that trophy, the next outcome, they should not come. Let them boycott it. I know African football is to follow them. Let us get everything. Let everybody just go going. Let us destroy everything. We can't football. We can't politics. They have politics in the deep of football. They have politics.
Unfortunately, you have not reacted to the matter. You are telling us what you think should happen. Where's this idea of let us scatter everything and let everybody go home empty-handed? Who does he work for? Who does he work for? Africa, or you who you are angry about how the outcome of the situation is? So if they say everybody go home, African Cup of Nations will not be played again. Who do you think it does anything to? It is Africa. It is not the rest of the world. The rest of the world, well, they will even see it as a bonus that African players do not have to leave and say they are going to play in their countries anymore. And who knows, maybe of course your World Cup slot might be given to Asia and other countries and other continents, and say, okay, you know what, we can continue from there. After all, Africa are not ready for this. I think that conversation of scrap the entire African Cup of Nations, let's go home, I think it's a stretch. It's not necessary.
Just being emotional.
It's a stretch. We can disagree or agree on a lot of things, but to say we should scrap the competition totally, it's a stretch. I don't want to go that far.
That is to say, no be to cut off the head now, the medicine to because
to
of
headache. You can say this thing because what, you cut your nose to spite your face. What is that? Or you pluck out your eyes and use it to say, okay,
you don't want to see bad things.
You don't want to use and see bad things. Again, this has called for better regulations as far as this is concerned. You see that thinking of you get angry and say let's burn it down.
That's what Senegal did. It was irresponsible.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. All that anger of you want to destroy everything. I think we see it in this part too, because people were already saying the last time I saw such a thing in European football, it was a force majeure situation. It was Christian Eriksen who collapsed during the Euros in 2021, and the match was halted. I think about an hour later or 2 hours later, while they were able to revive him at the hospital, the game continued.
Yes.
The game continued. Yes, life was involved at that point in time, and everybody moved on. Also in October 2013, Fabrice Muamba's case. Fabrice Muamba's case also happened, and everybody 2012 October, I think, and 13th of October 2012, it happened, and the match was postponed. It was eventually played. It was continued later from the minute where he went down till the end of the game. It was Bolton Tottenham Hotspur. I thought like that to myself as well. But do you know that people have paid for that match as broadcasters?
Yes.
Do you know that, the way sport is interconnected, somebody has also placed money there to say, you know what, we want to be sponsors, we want to be partners, we want to be this, and money has changed hands. And if you pull out of that thing to say, didn't you know that somebody collapsed, you can be sued for every penny.
You have to pay reparation.
So you have to keep to your own side of everything. This African football will just they try package now. We can't talk say we can scrap them. Like, can you survive on your club football and not see your national team players play? So they just play for their clubs, and you're happy with that. And maybe World Cup qualifiers, World Cup that is once in 4 years. That is when we'll be seeing them in the colours of Nigeria.
See our Super Eagles.
I beg.
Why so selfish?
Bona take them easy. It never reach like that. There is nothing that cannot be negotiated to a point where we would say, let's reach an agreement on this matter and have it solved once and for all.
Worst comes to worst, they'll replay it.
Exactly.
Worst
case scenario, we'll reschedule the match and play it again, and then everybody can go their way. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
I heard you too much.
Your name is?
I heard you guys in the studio here.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Terry. You
do you believe this thing you are saying? This thing you have just said, do you believe it?
Go on.
Talking about the decision of CAF. It's a pity. It's a pity that this reckless politics in Africa have been got for football as well. because I don't know the reason why after a game, when Senegal decided not to continue with that game after the penalty awarded to the Moroccans, after protesting, we should have called them that game at that particular time, but he did not do that, and the Senegalese continued, and they won clearly. This kind of one group points and award of points after some move of the competition gone. How do you intend to do that? I think if you carry out this particular action, it will track the name of the African football. They use it tied already to the more, and no one will ever respect the African football again. You know, already they are talking about the non-importance of the African Nations Cup, and now you want to drag it to the more, the border. It is appalling. They should just forget about this. None of these things are coming simply because Morocco refused to host other competitions. Morocco is supposed to host the women AFCON. And they refused. And I think it's all boiled down to the Moroccans won the African Cup of Nations by all means. I don't just understand. And you wouldn't say because Morocco are good hosts of the competition and they have every necessary every equipment to carry out the hosting. And because of that, you should drag a cup that the Senegalese clearly won. You want to take it away from them simply because they want to please with the Moroccans. It's not done anywhere. They should allow African football to grow instead of dragging it anymore. Thank you so much.
Okay, now you said two contrasting things, and I think it's unfair for the conclusion you arrived at. You said when the Senegalese players walked off, the game should have been called off. And then you're saying a game that Senegal clearly won. I'm not sure you want to balance that logic and reach a conclusion. Okay, but that's a different matter. I think all of this issue of Morocco not wanting to host the WAFCON is as a result. They launched this matter. Yes, they won the rights to host the WAFCON before the AFCON, or before the AFCON was played. But they launched an appeal on this matter first to the disciplinary committee and then to the appeals committee, the appeals board committee, appeal board's committee, for this thing to be reversed before now. That a decision was reached 2 months later is not their making. There was no way they would have been able to fast track the process. That's on CAF 100%. Again, this is also on CAF that their referees at the biggest stage on the continent, the rules did not apply where they were supposed to have applied.
They suddenly forgot.
And that is also on CAF. I say this because, yes, it may be bad for the optics as far as African football is concerned, but you will not, by any stretch of the imagination, say Morocco does not have a case to present. Maybe when we begin to look at the technicalities, we will say, did they agree to come back to the pitch? Did they agree to play? Does agreeing to come back to the pitch meant that you forfeited the right to protest when you should have? That becomes another thing entirely. But does that also cancel the fact that there is a rule binding whether, I mean, these players are not the ones who are supposed to keep these rules in their heads. Okay, but we can look at all of these things and come up with a lot of these analyses and talk about what can change, what shouldn't change, or what is expected to change. But I think the way we try to make it look now, I do not personally think I have a problem with Morocco pulling out of the WAFCON. I also put that on CAF, because if you have countries that are ready to host these competitions, and it's like you saying today that something happens in Budapest where the Champions League final will be played on the 30th of May, and UEFA will fold their arms and say everybody will understand that something happened in Budapest. God forbid there is something happens and then we can't use the Puskás Arena
or the World Cup.
It will move to another place immediately. If the US says today that they are no longer hosting the World Cup, the US, Mexico, and Canada,
plan.
You will be shocked at the speed Europe will pick it up, and maybe 3 months might be small, but these guys are aware that money is involved. They're probably going to pump in a lot of money and make it happen within the shortest possible time. And then, I mean, it will probably even make sense for it to be in Europe rather than in America, where there will be visa restrictions and all the rest, because if you get a visa and you're in Europe, you probably will be able to shuttle one country to another by whatever means of transportation to go see these games. But I'm saying this because you now look at the situation holistically, you will discover that everyone is hitting at Morocco for standing their ground to say that, okay, you know what, we don't want to host the WAFCON. I think if you have the resources, you can determine to host it and determine not to host it. You're well within your rights. Unfortunately, you're holding CAF by the jugular, and that's just the bad part about it. But to say that they pulling out of the competition makes them bad people, I'm sorry, I don't see it that way, because again, are they aggrieved from the outcome of the last African Cup of Nations? Are they not within their rights to be aggrieved? They are. I mean, so if it is looking that way, and everybody tries to make it look as if it's because they are angry, that's why they are pulling out of the WAFCON. Yes, I had plans to see the WAFCON and I was excited about the competition. But if the guys say they are not doing it, I think it is more of a wake-up call for CAF than it is for us to be pointing fingers at Morocco. CAF, going forward, you probably want to make this work as much as possible. Again, if there is any rule somewhere for host nations to pull out of competitions that they have agreed to host, please apply the rules also. So if there's a fine somewhere, let Morocco pay that money. It means that even if we are taking the competition away from Morocco, let's give it to another country. But first things first, again, it's an aspect CAF cannot control, but we have to encourage development of infrastructure when it comes to football competition. We are saying this and we are blaming Morocco. Why didn't we as Nigeria say, bring it to us, we can host it? Because we only have one ground where we can play all those matches, and it is in Uyo. So it is a case of African countries never preparing for the contingencies of things that can happen to them, and then we'll find ourselves in a situation where we're asking for, how do we get ourselves out of this place? How do we solve a problem like this? If African countries were ready for things like this, one country no go to take us shine. If the countries say they are not interested in hosting anymore, it will switch to the next set of guys. Because now we are in the dark as far as that competition is concerned. There is still no host for it. They have just postponed it to say, okay, it's going to happen sometime in July, and it will span into August. There's still no host country for it. So maybe, of course, if we now try to make Morocco feel good, we will now take it to them. Already, as you are taking it from them and you are applying the fine for them refusing or pulling the plug in the 11th hour, and you are giving it to another country, start looking at the possibility of letting another country host it 100%. And not, because you cannot rule that out, and not take it back to Morocco, where the competition now kicks off, and then there will be underarm tactics to try to pacify them one way or the other. Because that will definitely happen, and it will not make sense. So we will now score a clean goal when we are playing Morocco, and then they will cancel it and there will be no explanation. And then we'll come back and say, really, let's not even box ourselves into situations where we have to favor host countries. Yes, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Let the game be fair play 100%, and let's go out there and get the job done. 090-41,889, 090-44,889. Do you agree with Hugo Bruce? Yes, the man has said, in all of this, I blame CAF because they are not consistent with their own rules. Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
President, good afternoon. Yes, sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
President, don't say everything all. Because we want this Africa now, that Morocco now, in the host everything. So before I go for the hand now, that's what we will do. Then for me, for that matter, say my poor mouth. You see that law which they don't do. They said that law now in 2021. They don't do that law.
Yes, 2021.
As in that 2021, they don't play Nations Cup now. Like they don't play like 2 Nations Cup. For this one happened to Morocco now. So can you tell me that all those countries, all those coaches, they know they do meeting, and they know they send the law to the players, because that much that all of us watch up. Even though smart team now say they 16 years not play. If after 9 they say that Senegal win that Nations Cup, and Senegal never use the hand collect that cup, My CAF carry that cup to Senegal. Because right now Senegal are the champions of Africa. Understand? So all this is what Morocco they do. And because all these South African countries they never spoken up and they never the mess up. They go carry the tournament on that place. And if Senegal do mistakenly carry that cup to Morocco back, you go see say Morocco go turn to giants of Africa. Anything to the top, people go collect them. So because all that cup and medal, so the players carry, all of them don't go at all. And this is a fight for all those players now. Each of them, this is a fight. I could remember that I went to play World Cup. That against Benfica. Not that much, they can't stop them because of the weather. And it seems to reach like 1 hour, 2 hours. They never played the match. This is what I this is the highest 9 minutes they come play. And Lord says, you saw them make them come play the ball again. They start playing ball. And I'm not concerned, I first pass ball before 30 minutes. That 30 minutes, I'm not concerned pass the first 15 minutes. Before Senegal come pass the second one. That's all. So, on my own, no, I know I'm making Senegal defend that court. Senegal hold on. No Morocco wait for another time. I expect no one wait for another thing. Other countries will come up and hold. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that one on the show this afternoon. Football Live as the action continues right here. We can take your comments as well on WhatsApp as they come on the show. My surprise is because they can't get a point from Man U, while Chelsea kept losing against Man U. Next match against Man United is already 3 points against Chelsea. Like Ezioku Michael, I don't know, you ended up confusing me. You succeeded. This one here says, good afternoon, Brilla. I don't want to agree with Hugo. No matter what the rules are, the referee used his discretion, which is also part of the rules. The discretion of the referee is not in the rules. I hope you know that one is just not a rule. No matter how anybody wants to interpret the rules, there's a room for the referee's discretion too. No, there's no room for the referee's discretion to twist the rules if the rules are clear. Okay, there are a lot of gray areas which VAR and other things are helping to iron out right now. But these are not things that are within the ambits of the law of players walking off the pitch. Is not to the discretion of the referee. Let's not hide other things behind it. Okay. It says if Brahim Diaz had scored that Panenka, would they have come down to this? A Theo Zero. Of course, it is because they didn't score the Panenka. That's why all these things are coming up. Good afternoon. Article 82 in question to a layman means that when the team didn't return to the pitch, Senegal returning to the pitch to conclude the match is solid enough. CAF's decision obviously follows the discretion of Morocco to win the AFCON with every antics as evidence. Sukomi from Abulegba. Again, there are a lot of twists and turns. I listened to what's his name again now? Raymond Hack, when he was talking about this same thing. He said Senegal walking off the pitch was something that could have ended the game, no doubt about that, and nobody's making any excuse for Senegal. But he did mention that it is not this or this. It's not 83 or 82. It is 82 and 83 that would trigger 84 to be applied. He said it's not a case of or, but it is a case of, it's not a case of 82 or 83. It's a case of 82 and 83 for it to lead to what would have happened. He said, okay, maybe the players should probably have lodged a protest to say, look, ref, these guys have walked off the pitch. Apply the rules now and declare us champions. And that probably would have been the case. But then again, Hugo Bruce is saying they didn't need to remind the referee that the players walking off the pitch had put an end to the game already. Hugo Bruce is saying that clearly, that look, we didn't need to remind the referee. I mean, this is a coach who's also putting into perspective the fact that they fielded a player who had 2 yellow cards in an AFCON qualifier against Lesotho, and the report was not filed in 24 hours to FIFA, even though the rule says file it in 24 hours and send. But in this case, FIFA had to say, was there a violation of the rule? Yes. filing it in 24 hours is not as important as the fact that a player was fielded despite having 2 yellow cards. So it became a case of we cannot cancel the veracity of this case because the player was not because the matter was not reported 24 hours to the time. The fact that the player was fielded at all makes it equally an offense, rather than we just trying to limit it to the fact that we didn't report it after 24 hours and so it's not as important as it should have been. Well, reporting it in 24 hours is also part of what makes it, but that in itself does not rule out the fact that if you have a case to report after 24 hours to say something went wrong, that your the complaint you're trying to lodge against the matter will not be honored. So again, these things are the way they are. At the end of the day, it goes to, because there's also another guy who, after the AFCON, he was the guy in charge of the referees committee of the African Cup of Nations, who said he prevailed on the referee to continue with the game. That's another person who, of course, will probably be investigated and be asked questions as to
put in the witness box.
Yes, how he had to step into the matter at that point in time when it should have been a case of, can we just apply the rules and let this game be done with? And then you're encouraging the referee to say, you know what, let's not spoil this game, let's manage it, let's handle it this way, let's do this, let's do that. This thing is complicated, and Senegal have said they will appeal. Even the president of CAF has said, look, we're not going to stand in the way of anybody who tries to appeal this matter, and we will accept any decision made by the higher authority. And I think it ends there, for real. Let's see how that goes. But let's take some of the comments here. Sonny from Mechelen says, the simple fact is that the referee ruined the whole thing. It doesn't matter what people will say afterwards, in as much as you know the rules. Undoubtedly, many of us were rooting for Senegal just because of the attitude of the Moroccan players and the FA. But rules are rules, full stop. Going forward, as sad as it sounds, the trophy should be taken from Senegal, and the CAF president and referee and everyone responsible should pay dearly for their incompetence. Remember, to have consistencies, rules must be respected no matter how. And as for Morocco refusing to host the WAFCON, this is no different from what Senegal did on the field of play. So they should heavily be fined for putting every team in disarray. Sonny from Mechelen. Mechelen in Belgium? Okay. Shouts to you. Hope you're doing good. This one here says, good afternoon, Team Brilla. Alfonso from Eco Atlantic. This one is coming from you. Says, CAF is confused. It is a whole lot of confusion from a logical and a sporting standpoint. Yes, the match was concluded properly with a clear winner and a loser on the day. By that reasoning, the title rightfully belonged to Senegal. So the game was completed with a winner and a loser on that day. So the cup belongs to Senegal. But there is the question no one seems willing to address. What if it had been a semi-final? Suppose Senegal had won under the same circumstances, progressed to the final, and then lost. Would CAF then order a replay of the semi-final, or go as far as replaying both the semi-final and the final? I really need a response. Unfortunately, that response should come from CAF and not from me, because I don't make the rules, and I have never handled a competition of that nature. In fact, with these things that have happened now, be sure that the rules will be revisited again. Yes, because sometimes that's how these things work. Good afternoon, Victor. If they replay the match, Senegal won't see the ball to play because it will still favor Morocco. Tunde from Ikeja. Okay. This one here says, good afternoon, VQ and Joseph. Kajetan from Anambra says, first of all, I blame the ref for not ending the game when Senegal left the pitch to the dressing room for about 15 minutes. It was 17 minutes actually. Senegal broke the rule and has been punished for that. They should have known before taking such action. Morocco may have their fault too. Which football rule did they break, please? They understand the politics in football better than Senegal. Juventus 2005-2006, Marseille 1993, Shanghai Shenhua 2003, Myron Jones at the Olympics, even the Commonwealth Games in Nigeria. Yes, etc. Trophies and medals were stripped off after further investigation later. Morocco no get issue, I beg. CAF should sit up. Simple. Kajetan, he says happy weekend. Happy weekend to you too, man. For your contribution. Well done, guys. The whole CAF furore, the A to Z of the entire matter is the application of the law of jurisprudence. He says the discretion of the law, hence the conflicting viewpoints from everyone as to who is right or wrong. Onesimus, this one is coming from you. FJ1 from Lekki Chakondo says, Vicky and Joseph, good afternoon to you guys. Vicky, I enjoy your show. Thank you so much. Thank you for that one. And let's, of course, I'll let you know that the game between Liverpool and Brighton is, of course, set to get started. And we will definitely take you there. We can take 2 or 3 more calls on this particular matter. And then, of course, we will switch gears and switch topics because we have more exciting things to look at today on Football Live. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon to you. Hello. Sorry. Try again, and let's hear you. Good afternoon. Are you speaking to somebody or to us? Because it sounded like you wanted to use that as your introduction, but then again, something happened to the phone line there, and we could not exactly hear you. Football Live. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Are you there? Okay. Try to get back in and see if you can reach us to make your contributions. We can squeeze in 3 more calls, taking different views on this same matter. And after that, of course, we will wrap it up and take it elsewhere. In League One, Cardiff City against Blackpool has just kicked off. And there's a bit of a delay in the game between Brighton and Liverpool. It was supposed to kick off at 1:30. It is 1:30 already, and it hasn't kicked off yet. There's a bit of a delay about that one. We'll let you know as soon as things get started right there. The game is now kicking off at 1:45. It's not going to kick off at 1:45 because of a road traffic accident earlier at the A27. Yes, there's always a reason why these people don't do it. Yes, that road accident happened somewhere close by where the game is supposed to take place. So yes, that will see the game delayed by another 15 minutes. Yes, another 15 minutes. Okay, just letting you know the latest coming in from that point. Hello there. Good afternoon to you.
Victor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
I've been listening to you this morning.
I came since afternoon. No.
This afternoon. Sorry for the mistake.
It's okay.
Somebody, George Ware, I was listening to him yesterday, maybe on Facebook or TikTok. Immediately those Senegalese players walk out of that pitch. That's supposed to be the end of the match, according to George Ware. If Arsenal play against Chelsea at the Emirates, the Arsenal committed a penalty inside our own box, inside Arsenal penalty box. They now give Chelsea a penalty. Arsenal players, they now take a walk, like they used to say in America. They walk away. Victor, what is the role of the game? What will happen? Good afternoon.
You came here to ask me question. You came here to ask me question. We have something we're debating, and you are supposed to give us your perspective. You're asking me about if Arsenal and Chelsea have a game and they give penalty and they walk off, what will happen? You tell us what will happen. Tell us what will happen. This is also clearly a case why you see a lot of these things in European football, and their first reaction is not to walk away. Their first reaction is to stay there and wait for further instructions. The first instruction is usually not to walk away. Yes, they just stay there, and yes, we know that in some certain situations, yellow cards get rescinded, red cards get rescinded, ideas change and all the rest. But in most cases, it doesn't affect the results. It doesn't affect the result. Oh, this guy was pushed and then the player pushed him and VAR didn't see it, or VAR saw it but they could not reach a conclusion, and that led to the goal, your 3 points don't go. They can blame the referee for it and probably even demote the referee to go take charge of games in the Championship or in League One. But that's usually where it ends. And then we just stay and be going around the circle. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Daniel.
Daniel, welcome. Welcome, Daniel.
Yeah. But for that match that day, Senegal, Morocco, there was a guy still on the pitch, for a while. Sadio Mane, who later went to the dressing room, called those guys out for the match to continue. I think that is also be put into consideration when looking at this matter.
How do you mean? How do you mean? How do you mean? How do you mean?
Yeah. So that's
I'm asking, what do you mean? You said Mane was on the pitch. He was not on the pitch. At some point he left the pitch. At some point he also left the pitch. At some point Sadio Mane also left the pitch. He was around the technical area where he was speaking with Claude Leroy and a host of other guys he had to talk to before, of course, the other players, and then he went to the dressing room. He also left the pitch. He was not on the pitch himself. He was not on the pitch all through. If you have the clip, go back and see it again. The entire team walked off. Mane didn't leave immediately, but at some point he also left. At some point he also left the pitch. I mean, the technical area is not where you want to sit down. A player who's coming on as a sub, if the referee does not give you permission to come onto the pitch, you cannot come in. And if you go out without the referee's permission while on the pitch, is a yellow card. So maybe all the players who actually went out should have been shown yellow cards. And that would have also meant some players who were already on a yellow would have been shown straight red cards. Oh, sorry, second yellow cards, and then they will end themselves red cards. And then again, like a contributor said, the guy from Mechelen, because we were all rooting for Senegal that day, with Morocco having beaten Nigeria, of course, you'd expect us to switch allegiance. Everybody would have said, why they can't give the people yellow card? They just want to tie their hands so that Morocco will eventually win this thing. You see what the hot-headedness of that decision to walk off the pitch has cost. Because at the end of the day, you still accepted that VAR's rule is the rule, and you still came out to play it. But unfortunately, where the rule ought to have applied, it did apply, and that has favored you. Because coming back on the pitch meant, okay, maybe if you had scored that penalty, that would have been a different case entirely. But does it rule out that because you did not score the penalty, you therefore do not have a case?
No, I think first of all well, I think it will be a different case, because if Senegal, if Morocco had scored the penalty, I think it would have, the game would have tilted a little bit. Morocco would have probably defended and tried to see out the game, depending on how long the referee allows it for. But to be honest, I think there's so much will leave to imagination at the end of the day, because Morocco's scores, it will be a case of, okay, even if they had not scored, the normal ruling would be that they forfeited the game. But then, based on the integrity of the game, I think it will still be a case of, okay, what should have happened, what did not later happen. So maybe, who says if Morocco had scored the penalty, the Senegal would not have equalized as well, given under different circumstances. So for
it was the last minute that they considered that penalty, so they probably wouldn't have added more than 2 minutes.
But when they had left the pitch, you understand, they would have added, because a VAR review, and because they left the pitch for a long time, probably a few minutes would have been added to it as well. But altogether, I think again, if it had gone in, there's every tendency that Senegal also probably equalize, and if they don't, it will be a case of, okay, you guys walked off. I think it will now be that, okay, we will give you heavier fines than now you should not have walked off and
Yeah.
still possibly have lost. So double jeopardy for them, by their own actions now, not because of CAF ruling.
Okay. 090-41,089, 090-44,089. Action games have kicked off in the championship. Blackburn Rovers are taking on Middlesbrough. It is Derby County against Birmingham. And I can tell you, yes, there is a game between Ipswich Town as they take on Millwall. 9 minutes across all the centres in this game as action continues in the women's WSL. Arsenal women lead 1-0 against West Ham women. London City Lionesses, they trail 1-0 to Chelsea women. Manchester United women have just taken the lead against Everton women. And it is, City women 4, Tottenham Hotspur women 1 after 39 minutes on the clock. In Armenia, yes, Alashkert trail 1-0 against Punic Yerevan. And Turan, Turantovos against Gabala. Turantovos, it is 1-1 in that game. Neman against Bate Borisov, 81 minutes on the clock. It is still goalless in that game right there in the Chinese Super League. Of course, a couple of games are taking place. And across all the centers, you have games are coming through now. And we're waiting for that big fixture between Brighton and Liverpool as we will get the main leagues. Yes, the big leagues are started on Football Live on the show today. Let's see, of course, if we can squeeze in one or two comments. Good afternoon, guys in the studio. Happy weekend. I'm Michael from Jakonde. Please, someone should tell CAF that they are ruining African football. The decision to award Morocco the trophy after already giving it to Senegal is unacceptable. In 1976, when the Nations Cup was a 4-nation tournament, Morocco versus Guinea, in the final match, this thing, they don't go dig things come out. Morocco walked off the field of play to protest a goal scored by Guinea for 7 minutes. They later came back after their coach called them back, and they draw the match 1-1 on to top the group and win the cup. The CAF should first of all go and recall the 1976 Cup of Morocco and give it to Guinea before they recall. CAF is a double standard organization. Saka Suleiman, this one is coming from you. What if these rules didn't apply as at that time, 1976?
They've done so many
1976. Of course, what time? But let's take this one also. This one says, good afternoon, guys. This is John from Coventry. I have never seen where the result of a game has been changed by an on-field referee error. Yes, it says a red card may be upturned, but the result never changes. Results are only changed or titles revoked due to events that are not within the referee's on-field decisions. For example, the use of ineligible players, financial fair play rules, and the shady football deals, etc. The decision to award the match to Morocco on the final was absolutely within the referee's capacity, and since he did not act on it, it is the result. Yes, then the result ought not to have been changed by CAF. It is a grave error. Great job, guys. John from Coventry. Thank you so much, John, for that one. Let's, of course, take a quick break at this one in time. When we come back, of course, we'll be looking at our other talking points, and then we'll be set to take you to the Amex. Brighton against Liverpool. Action in the Premier League on Football Live.
Hi, DJ Drogba.
Hello, this is Haile Gebrselassie.
Hi, I'm Michael Essien, midfielder.
My name is Jeremy Mikel.
My name is Danny Jordan.
My name is Kolo Toure. Hi, my name is Thiago Vangira.
Hi, sports fans. My name is Victor Moses.
My name is Lightning Bolt.
I'm Joseph Yobo.
My name is Austin Jeju Okocha.
This is David Dean, former Vice Chairman of Arsenal and the Football Association. We're on 88.9 Brilla FM.
We're reaching out to bring the big names to you. Sports Radio 88.9 Brilla FM. There's nothing like it.
And it all kicks off right here.
you know, contributing your hot takes and opinions just got way easier because Sports Radio Brilla FM is doubling down the fun by giving you 2 magical lines to connect to the studios. That means when you dial the numbers
090-41,889 and 090-44,889,
your voice will be heard on the home of the fans around the world. What are you waiting for? Start dialing, because now you have not one but a 2-way access to having your voice heard on your favorite radio station.
Breaking news straight to your phone. Brilla Media is now on WhatsApp. Follow our official WhatsApp channel for the latest sports news, talking points, live updates, and in-depth coverage of sports events in Nigeria and around the world. From international tournaments to national teams, athletes, and exclusive stories. If it's sports, it's on Brilla Media. To join, simply go to WhatsApp channels on your device. Search Brilla Media and tap follow channel. No stress, no delays. Just sports as it happens. Brilla Media, home of the fans.
Hey, sport fans, where you? More ways to take enjoy and package sport informate as you day on the go. Now to follow us on top our social media platform and website as it dey hot oh. Breaking news we day. Live update with full ground. Transfer gist and confirm gist with all the betterlicious analysis where they inside sports. Now we deserve like hot cake. Sharply follow us on top Twitter and Instagram at Brilla FM 889. For Facebook, follow Sports Radio Brilla FM. Come still visit our website, wey be www.brilla.net. Make you no miss anything as we carry on closer to the action.
They are the heartbeat of the game. The voices that roar from Lagos to London, from the streets to the screens. They are more than fans. They are family. They are Brilla Nation. You cheer, you chant, you celebrate every goal, every victory, every moment that matters. And every single day, Brilla Media celebrates you. The power, the passion, the pride of Brilla Nation. Brilla Media, the home of champions, the voice of the fans. United we stand, together we win. Because we are Brilla Nation.
Brilla FM, a complete deal. B-R-I-L-A, Brilla.
A bigger sports experience just for you on several platforms. Sports Radio.
Brilla FM.
Enjoy our services on www.brilla.net.
Anywhere. Everywhere.
Subscribe to Brilla Sports TV on YouTube.
Watch, like, and share our videos. Brilla.
It's a total sports media experience. Anywhere. Everywhere.
He centred in with that gorgeous left foot of his. Have you heard anything quite like this?
Absolutely not.
From London to Lagos.
It was a long ball over the top.
Oh, it's gone by the form book.
Yeah, it's a superb performance from Arsenal, really. Unbelievable.
Boom.
Big goal in the relegation scrap.
Wow.
Nigerian Frank Onyeka returns to the substitutes bench for Brentford.
That's why we stand out from the crowd.
If you're a Tottenham fan, you'll be jumping up and down.
Yeah, it was an absolute screamer. Fair play to Mikel Antonio.
Pick that one out.
It's been a pleasure having you with us.
And when's it all going to end?
Football Live on Brilla FM.
You are listening to Football Live.
Football Live are proof that Sports Radio 88.9 Brilla FM has gone beyond one league.
How many do you want?
Football Live. There's nothing like it on weekends.
Football Live.
And yes, the action continues right here. Football Live, your Champion Star Sports Radio, Brilla FM. And there is a bit of a concern for Liverpool because that game has kicked off already. Yes, the game has kicked off already at the Amex. It is goalless, but there is a bit of a concern for Liverpool right there. Let's let you know that Liverpool player Hugo Ekitike is on the turf. Yes, he's on the turf. He had a collision with James Milner, and he's been on the turf after that, getting attended to by the medics. And it looks like they are running some ligament tests there. Hopefully it's not as serious as it looks, but he's a bit of a concern. He's up on his feet and he's limping heavily. I'm not sure he'll be able to continue this game. He can't rest on that leg. He's trying his best, walks with a heavy gait. Let's see if he'll be able to continue. Curtis Jones, meanwhile, is warming up on the sidelines. And yes, that's the latest coming in as far as that one is concerned. We're in the 5th minute of that game. It is a goalless affair right there. But there was a collision between Hugo Ekitike and James Milner. And that, of course, has sent the Liverpool player limping heavily. Looks like he could continue. But he's a bit of a concern, at least for now. You never know the extent these things could go before we'll see what the solution will probably be in the course of the game. But I can tell you that action across all the centres, be it in the Championship or in League One, yes, it is no goals recorded just yet, as teams are still sizing each other up. 21 minutes across all the centres, and someone who would have been his teammate, who of course has hurt him in the process, Hugo Ekitike, right there. He's back on the pitch. Walking gingerly. May not be able to run.
I've aggravated this thing because he's still limping.
Yeah, he is. Probably because of the pains he's feeling. Because I expect that the medic should have recommended that he be substituted if he was that serious. I don't think it should be something he should aggravate or would want to come back to the pitch and try to give his best. Superman and for Fimi, they will not be real lightful. But let's see if he's able to handle it.
Gap is playing with a cast to his arm. What's going on? So Gap was playing with a cast to his arm. To his hand.
Wow.
Oh, he can't continue. Ekitike can't continue.
Ekitike cannot continue this game. The physio is back on the pitch. Attending to him. And this guy is actually doing well. For the forwards, for the French national team, maybe the out-and-out strikers, you probably look at, apart from Mbappe, you probably look at him alone. Apart from Mbappe and Dembele, Bakola, these guys are wingers. For the central strikers, I think he's been the main guy. Kolomwani has not had it so good this season. And sad one for the young man. He's been substituted. Cannot continue this game. Milner strong like that. That brother is irons, man.
Hip to hip.
What?
I was wondering if it had been a knee clash to his hip or that particular spot, I'd have said, okay, yes. I mean, probably a muscle shift or something. But
probably has hurt his flexor muscle around the hip.
Probably.
Because it looks like he's struggling to even bend the leg as he walks. Something must have gone wrong there. But Curtis Jones is coming onto the pitch to play in this game. Yes, Curtis Jones is the guy who's coming on to replace Hugo in this game. And 7 minutes of the action scene already. Hugo Ekitike is already out for Liverpool. Straight down the tunnel. Well, of course, there will be further checks with the home team, of course, providing any facility that might be needed. And if he needs to leave here straight to the hospital for scans to be conducted, that can already take place right now. But from the early signs, I think he's out of the French national team squad. After all, it's just friendly matches. He's out of it already. It was not long ago that fans and pundits were admiring the power of the Premier League. All 6 clubs were competing in the Champions League, reached the knockout stages of the competition for the first time. But across 2 legs of last 16 action, those suggestions of dominance have been dashed with just 2 teams, Arsenal and Liverpool, progressing to the quarterfinals. Manchester City, Chelsea, Newcastle United, as well as Tottenham Hotspur were all eliminated. The first time 4 sides from a single league, yes, a single nation, have gone out at the same stage of the competition, haven't suffered such heavy defeats across their respective ties. Overall, the 4 sides conceded 28 goals, suggesting it was a humbling experience for the Premier League clubs, while specific issues can be offered for each of them. It still begs the question, what went wrong for the Premier League sides, yes, for the English sides in Europe this season? What went wrong for the English teams? Do you see the remaining 2 EPL teams reaching the UCL final? Joseph, let's get started with you.
To be honest, I look at the remaining 2 teams, Arsenal and Liverpool. You would argue that maybe particularly not Liverpool are, any of these strong contenders to get into a Champions League final. Given how the season has gone for them, not particularly impressed with a lot of Premier League fans, even their own fans. But Arsenal, on the other hand, you probably feel, okay, yes, Arsenal, I wouldn't say almost guaranteed, but you would agree that Arsenal are, one of the better sides in Europe at this point in time. And yeah, why not against, some of the top teams in Europe, go ahead. And I don't think there's any team that Arsenal can basically play against at this point in time in Europe. So you could give them that chance. But for Liverpool, I don't think so. I don't think they are getting past PSG. And, but that is also backed by the results from the league, even the Champions League, how PSG have also played. Maybe not having the, this premium PSG we expect them to be. But the truth is they turn it absolutely all the way up when they need to. And I think that could be the difference between them and, every other team, going on, going to the latter stages of the competition. But to say what is exactly wrong with, all the English teams, I think we can measure that with their performance even in the domestic league, right there, in England. Manchester City, obviously, I wouldn't say they were better than Liverpool. Real Madrid, at any point this season, yes, because even in the league, they've not been good. They've not been solid. I wouldn't say they've been poor, but not the same. Manchester City, far too inconsistent for you to even think they'll make it past, where they've done. The round of 16. You look at Wales, Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea are struggling at this point in time in the Premier League. They are trying to get into the Champions League place. Yeah, definitely not that bad, but not fit for a team that would go all the way in the Champions League. Again, sometimes Champions League, you can't particularly measure it to how you play in the league. You cannot be having, a total balance of a season, but go ahead to win the Champions League. But we've seen the results. Apart from the result, the performances, and I think it's not just about the result for many of these sides. The performance, how they've played, able to get to where they currently are in the Champions League, and I think you can look at it and put everything in plain sight how you would expect them to perform. Which other team? Newcastle United. Of course, I'm not sure, getting by Newcastle United against Barcelona, anybody would have thought it would be possible at any point. But Newcastle United also are, struggling badly, even in the league. So I think it's just how they've played. The performance have not been great for the various English teams, apart from Arsenal. By the way, looking at, maybe not incidentally, looking at how they've also performed in the Premier League, you could argue that they are the best team in the league at this point in time. So for me, I think all of these performances, run parallel with how they've been performing in the league season. So I don't think there's much of expectation, going to the knockout stage of the Champions League. So I just think it's just a fair reflection of how things have been for all those teams. Not particularly because maybe there's fatigue. Last season, everybody was doing well. In fact, it was a really successful outing for English teams as a whole, or English football on the continental stage. But this season is not just the same. So I think it's pretty much normal. Maybe by next season, where I don't know, the competition will probably be higher. I'm not sure, but I think there's so much to look at in terms of lessons, and you can tell that the teams particularly have not been entirely good this season, even outside the Champions League football.
Okay, let's see, of course, your thoughts on the show. Joseph said the teams have not particularly been good in Europe, but I can tell you Danny Welbeck has put Brighton ahead. Yes, they lead 1-0. Danny Welbeck is that man who has put Brighton ahead in the game against Liverpool. Didn't see this coming, Joseph. We talked about these guys and how they can sneak in and get the job done. Danny Welbeck is playing like a man possessed, especially maybe because this is the World Cup year and he's trying to put himself into Thomas Tuchel's plan. But what a season he's having, and how that cross came in, how he was able to cross from Kadioglu. Gomez nodded it back into play. Danny Welbeck, right place, right time, right behind Konate, and was just able to get a header to it and put it into the back of the net. Liverpool, well, they don't look well put together in the early parts of this game already, Joseph.
Well, as I think as we mentioned before before the start of the game, they basically pulled the defense apart and struck them where they just Welbeck sneaking into the back post, and again Kekes did not do a good job of looking at what
tracking
was happening.
Gomez.
Yes, I think he missed him completely, and it was too late before he realized to get back in. So it was all for Gomez to take the initiative. He was wide and just nod it into the danger area once again, and Konate and Virgil van Dijk were just not able to get anything on that. So for me, I think it just goes as we predicted it might happen. Kekes will be drawn out, but those tiny pockets of spaces where you leave the extra, just as Brighton have been scoring, I should not be surprised any longer. I don't think I'm even shocked that this is almost the kind of goal they've been scoring against Liverpool, particularly in this fixture, Brighton. And it has happened again. Its basic lessons have not been learned. Again, Kekes has to be mindful all the time of how he fails to track the men on his behind. Maybe he needs somebody. I think Gravenberch could have coming into that space to make it comfortable for him to at least not be able to. He was chasing the defender. Another one was right behind him. So it was that extra space, and Brighton made use of it. And again, if they don't take care of all of these little details, it might just happen again. And they've not particularly done so much in terms of trying to score Liverpool. It might be just this kind of moment they might lose the entire game.
Okay, let's of course see how it goes. 16 minutes of football played at the Amex already, and Brighton right in it, trying to work their way into the box again as much as possible. But yes, we're talking about EPL teams and how they fell short this season in the UEFA Champions League. Only 2 of 6 are left in the competition, and has raised concerns about what we are seeing from teams in the English Premier League. Arsenal, Liverpool are the 2 left. And can these guys actually do anything this season to make up for the things we have seen about English teams in the Premier League this season? Yes, let's hear from you this afternoon on the show. 090-41,089 and 090-44,089. Yes, the numbers to call as we talk action in the Premier League. Yes, looking at Premier League teams in Europe this season. Well, fell short, considered 28 goals and returning only 11 of those. Yes, in those games. City scored only 1 over 2 legs. Newcastle scored 3 over 2 legs. That's 4. Chelsea scored 2 over 2 legs. And that's 5. Who else scored? Let's see. Okay, Liverpool actually scored. I'm not talking about all those who got knocked out. Liverpool scored 4 over 2 legs. Arsenal scored 3 over 2 legs, and that's what exactly raises the number. Tottenham Hotspur did score 5 over 2 legs, but they obviously left it a little too late to get the job done. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, my name is AGK Ozebelani.
Welcome to Football Live.
Okay. Yes, I thought I agree with you guys that the performances of all the teams in England, what they are doing in the Premiership, is what they showcase in Europe, and they could not find their feet to there. You see, English fans and English teams, they should be grateful to Arsenal, because Arsenal is going to clean their shame. Because you see, Arsenal, some Chelsea legends, like Mikel Obi. They keep criticizing Arsenal that they are not playing good football, but they are winning ugly. So this time around, the matching in round 16, all the teams in England, considering coach like tomorrow no day, 8 to 7 this, 8 to this. Only Arsenal considered only one goal and Liverpool considered one. But I can tell you that win over Galatasaray by Liverpool is a fluke because Liverpool is not all that good. You see, for you to win any tournament, you must have a good defense. And that defense is what's going for Arsenal. You know, because if you have good attack, you can score and you concede. But if you have good defense, you must score one and defend for it. So that is what is going for Arsenal this season. So to be careful because Liverpool have to improve. They have to up their game in that quarter-final game. Otherwise, I don't think they will survive the PSG. And for me, I'm looking forward to see Arsenal and Bayern Munich for the final of this Champions League. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. We will have to get past all of these stages before we look at the final.